Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It's 12 o'clock on a Sunday and it's time for a Q&A. This is where I take all the questions that you've asked over the course of the week and I try to answer them to the best of my ability. A couple of things before we start. First of all, thank you for watching the videos. Thank you for interacting, sharing, posting, commenting. I really appreciate it. If it wasn't for you guys, this channel would not exist. Secondly, for the whole of the week just gone, I've been on tour with Ryland and Killian. So if you don't know, Killian's World of Magic has been touring. Ryland's the special guest artist on there. And both myself and Matt have been with Ryland and Killian all week. We've come back to the Midlands for one day before we head down to Henley and Arden. And I've used this one day to film the Q&A. What you are seeing last week and next week and the week after is all videos that I batched before I started the tour because I didn't want you guys to not have videos. So it was a lot of hard work. But, you know, that's something I wanted to do. The reason I bring that up is I wanted to say thank you to everybody that's come out and watched Ryland and Killian's show. You know, Killian is absolutely amazing. And you know what? Russ Stevens is just as amazing. Russ developed and directed this whole show. And it's an incredible show. It really is. And Matt is working his butt off behind the scenes, making sure that everything runs smoothly. Ryland and Killian are doing an incredible job. So to anybody who's come over and watched the show, thank you. For anybody who's messaged me, thank you. And yeah, if you want to see the show, I think you will be absolutely amazed. I've seen a lot of live shows, a lot of live magic shows, and this is one of the best I've seen. And I'm not just saying that. It is absolutely incredible. And even if you are a seasoned magician, there's a lot of big surprises in store for you if you go and watch this show. There's still a few dates, so I'm there at most of the dates. So if you do come along, say hi to me. I'll be loitering at the back somewhere. But yeah, anyway, that's not what this is about. Today is about the Q&A. Now, I'm filming this on Wednesday morning. I've just come back from Middlesbrough. Where Ryland and Killian were at last night. So I typically film these Q&As on about a Tuesday or a Wednesday. If you don't get the questions in, you want to get the questions in by Monday because then they'll definitely be answered. If I miss a question, I'm very sorry. Just ask it down below and I'll get back to it the following week. And you're also getting my raw, unfiltered opinion. So in other words, I'm not making the questions, I'm not reading them beforehand and thinking of the answers. You're getting off-the-cuff answers. And if I think something is kind of deserving of a longer video, I'll let you know that and I'll put that longer video together at some point in the future. Now, with that all being said, it's now time to go into it. So, without further ado, it's time for this week's Q&A. Okay, so the first one here is from Logan Sarani, who says, Craig, what makes you so unique is that you're on this platform every single day answering questions and doing product reviews. You're also a great performer and you always give the most relevant and practical advice. You cover the most important topics that I don't see anyone else doing. You're my favorite magician for those reasons. Dude, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. You have no idea how hard a work this channel is, especially at the moment. You know, where I'm currently doing this thing with Ryland and Killian and Matt. I then go to Magic Live. From Magic Live, I go to Columbus. I'm in Columbus for a week. I then come back. I'm down in Ireland straight after to do the rest of the tour with Ryland and Killian. Then I come back and Ryland's performing down south for a few days, and then he's performing up north. I've got my own gigs as well, so. Yeah, it's hard finding the time to do all of these videos and keeping the consistency up. And for people that make comments like that, I really appreciate it. So thank you so much. Okay, so the next question is from Dodgy Wheel, who says, Hi, Craig, I've got an idea for videos you could do. Stick with me here, not that you have time to fit more in. I was practicing with the Extractor 2 and thought how awesome it would be to have someone select a card from a deck, sign it, put it back in the case in the middle like Extractor, and then you ask them to find the card in the deck, but it's gone and there's a blank card in its place. You ask them what position in the deck the blank card is, and when they tell you, you pull out Quantum and count down to their selected card. Now, I've tried to work this trick out and thought it's very possible, but not with my skills. I know a man who could. Here's where you come in. You could do a video creating tricks people like me have an idea of, but can't quite work out how or don't have the skills to perform. If you've thought about it long enough, the hardest part of creating a magic trick is coming up with the inspiration behind the effect. The method itself will come over time. You're doing the hard part here. So let me just see what this is. So Someone selects a card from a deck and signs it and puts it back in the case in the middle, like Extractor. You then, okay, so someone selects a card from a deck and signs it and puts it back in the case in the middle, like Extractor. You then ask them to find the card in the deck, but it's gone and a blank card is in its place. You then ask them what position the blank card is, and when they tell you, you pull out Quantum and count down to their selected card. Right, okay, so you wouldn't need Quantum for this. You would not need Quantum for this. I'm just trying to think through. Okay. Let me think here. I don't think you would need Quantum here. Because if you did this, I'm just trying to think through the method. Okay, so blank deck. So you're wanting it to be... So you count down, it's their selected card at the number. So in essence, it's a transposition between a regular deck and a blank deck. They count down to what position the blank card is in. Okay. Okay. Okay, so what I would do, I don't think you'd need Quantum for this, because I think you could very easily force the position without them feeling like it's a force. So what I would do is I would have, let me just think through this to make sure that I'm not talking rubbish. Yeah, okay. So what I would do is I would have a double blank deck, right? So you'd have a double blank deck. That would go into the 20th position. 20th position. Okay, so I'd have a double blank deck of cards, and I'd either short the card 20th from the bottom, or I'd corner short the card 20th from the bottom. So, and that's the only preparation to that blank deck. So you've got a blank deck, it's blank on both sides, but the card at the 20th position from the bottom is corner shorted or shorted. So when you riffle at the back, you're going to hit that short card straight away, okay? That's the first thing that you're going to need. That would go into the one box. In the other box, you're also going to need a corner shorted card, and that's going to be 21 cards on the bottom. Make it a joker, doesn't really matter what the card is, they're never going to see it. But you're going to corner short, if you make it a joker, you can then take the jokers out and you're left with a regular deck. But you're going to corner short the card 21 up from the bottom. Okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to put a double blank card second from the face. So this regular deck, you're going to have a regular card on the bottom, then a double blank card, and then you're going to have like 19 cards, and then you're going to have the corner shorted card, right? That's what you're going to have, right? Which is going to be in the 21st position. So regular cards, 21 cards from the bottom is going to be the corner shorted card, and then there's going to be a blank card at the bottom, and there's going to be a cover card at the bottom of that. That goes into the other case. Now, what I would do is I would bring out the cards, and I'd show I've got 2 decks of cards here. And this one is special. I think I'd point out that this one is special. So I say I've got 2 decks of cards. I've got this deck here. We're going to get back to that in a second. This is a very special deck. And I'd say, hey, this is a special deck. You can tell it's special because they're blank on both sides. I would take the cards out. I'd show them both sides. They're blank on both sides. And then I'd just put them on the table. So I'm going to get back to that in a minute. But please remember that this is a blank deck. I'd then bring out the other deck, okay, which is a real deck of cards. And you could spread them face up. As long as you do a push off of the 2 cards on the face so they don't see the blank card, you could spread off the cards on the face and very cleanly show they're all normal. You could shuffle this deck if you want to, just make sure that you're not shuffling into the bottom 21 cards. Now, what I would do is, to make this nice and simple, is you're going to have someone pick a card from this deck. So you would have them take a card. You'd say touch a card, and you want them to touch a card above the shorted card. So you just spread through the top half of the deck and say touch a card. When they touch it, you'd upchug it, and you'd say it doesn't matter what the card is. I'm allowed to see it, and you'd put it on top of the deck and do a double turnover. So you're showing whatever the top card of the deck is. So in essence, you're forcing this card. This is just going to make the control easier. But as you're forcing the card, you may as well make it one where the signature shows up well, like a 2 of hearts or something. So they would sign that card, right? They would sign the card, and then you'd turn the double over and you'd deal that card down onto the table. So they think their signed card's on the table. It's on top of the deck. What I'd then do, as I'd say now, I'd get a break underneath the top card. You could use a cop, but this is the easiest way to do it. Get a break underneath the top card and just say, now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to keep an eye on your card, the 2 of hearts, but also keep an eye on this blank deck. And I go to pick up the blank deck, and I kiss the packets together, I kiss the decks together, and I just steal the card that's under the break to the bottom of the double blank deck. So I'd say, and the timing would be, can you sign your card on there? Fantastic, great. I'm going to pop that card down there. Keep an eye on that card, but also keep an eye on the blank deck. Remember, it was your job to keep an eye on the blank deck. So now you've got this this deck of cards here. You've got this deck of cards here with their selected card at the bottom, right? And then you've got this deck of cards here. Now, all you'd do now is you'd say, now we're going to try and do something. I'm going to have you put that card back in the deck, but we're going to put the cards in the box. Now, as you'd say that, you'd riffle at the back and you'd just cut at the short card. You just cut the deck at the short card, which is a very natural thing to do. You're just giving the cards one cut as you put them into the box. But what that cut is going to do is this is going to transfer all the cards at the bottom of the deck to the top, which means that the double blank card will go into the 20th position. Okay, so I'll just give the deck a cut and say, look, I'm going to put the cards back in the box. Do me a favor. Can you pick up this card, hold it face down, and just push it somewhere, maybe towards the bottom half of the deck, into the middle, maybe even further down. Make it a little bit difficult, because you wouldn't want it to go into the top 20, because then the card's going to be in the wrong position. So I'd say put it somewhere in the middle, maybe even a little bit further down. Just make it really hard for me. So they put the card back, or you just put it in. I mean, to be honest, it makes no difference. You could just put it into the middle. It's up to you. To be honest, if it makes really no difference if they put it into the top half. But whatever. The card goes, you can work that out yourself. The card goes into the deck, and you give them the deck to hold. And you say, actually, whatever happens to that deck inside the box happens to this deck as well. Let me show you what I mean. Now you pick up this deck, and you just riffle and you cut again. So what that cut is going to do, you riffle to the short card and you cut at that point. What that cut's going to do is it's going to take their selected card off the bottom and position it into the 20th position as well, right? So that would go into the other box. And you'd say, you hold on to that box here. So, and you'd recap now, and you'd say, now think about this. You picked a card from this deck, you signed it, you put it in the box, in the deck, anywhere you wanted to, right? Yeah, fantastic. And this blank deck you've been holding on to from the very, very beginning, right? Yeah. Now you take the deck out, and you wanted to middle of the deck, and now it's gone. So now what you're going to do is you're going to say, look, I'm going to show you something absolutely amazing. If I snap my fingers, you're not going to believe this. Take the cards out. So they take the cards out, and you say, just deal the cards onto the table one at a time into a pile and count as you do. So they're going to deal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and stop when you see your card. So they're going to deal, and when they get to 20, they're going to see a blank card, and you go, oh, hang on, that's a card that's blank on both sides. That was in the 20th position, right? That's weird. Deal that to one side. Carry on dealing through the deck, and just keep counting. So they're going to deal through, and the card's going to be gone, right? There's going to be no card there because we know it's in the other deck. But by doing it that way, they know that that blank card's in the 20th position. So you're going to act confused, and you go, oh, I don't really know what's going on here, but that card that's blank, it's been in that position from the very, that just appeared. That wasn't there before. We looked through the deck, and that's well, there's a blank deck over there. You can't think. What position was that in? 20. You take the cards out yourself. You deal the cards onto the table yourself. Deal down to the 20th position. And when they hit 19, they're going to see a printed card at the 20th position. You say, deal that to one side. Look through the rest of the cards. Are they really blank? Yes, they are. And then when they get to and then the big finish is they turn over the card that was in the 20th position, and it's their signed card. So that's how I would probably do that, because then there's no palming. You're not going to need to use a quantum deck, and everything's examinable at the end. And if you wanted to do it again, you just need to cut those short cards back into position. And if you don't do that, you're left with a regular blank deck, and you're left with a regular deck. Kind of weird, but there you go. But yeah, that's how I would do that. So hopefully that wasn't too long and it all made sense. But yeah, there you go. Okay, so the next question is from Stephen Hoog. Hoog 1. Nice to meet you, man. Says, likes and subscribe. Thank you very much. I remember having 1 or 2 professional card books or videos, and I'd go through them over and over. Once I got my student loan, I ordered all the Magic and books and DVDs. Dozens and dozens of books and DVDs came in. I've not read or performed any of the stuff I've got. Man, there's a lot of stuff I've got that I haven't performed. You know, like I said last week, sometimes people forget this is a hobby, and part of the battle is to just have fun with this stuff. You know, it's fun to just buy new tricks and just mess around with them. We might not never perform them, but that's okay. But thank you also for subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate it. Okay, so the next question is from Adrian Suter, who says, hi, Craig. I've recently watched Michael Lamar's Cups and Balls routine, 4 Minutes of Fame, where the Spectator performs the Magic, and I love it. It's great, isn't it? Yeah, really good. Do you know of any other great tricks where the Spectator performs the Magic? Well, my favourite one is called Empowerment, and I released that myself. And I got a standing ovation at the Magic Circle after I lectured on this. It was on my very first DVD, flipped out, and then I put an updated handling on my Vanishing Ink Masterclass. So if you can get access to my Vanishing Ink Masterclass, it's on there. And it is basically a coins across where the Spectator does the vanishing themselves. The Spectator makes the coins jump into the magician's hands. It's really good. They actually vanish the coins themselves, and they don't even realize how they're doing it. Off the back of that, my ex-business partner Russell Leeds created a routine called Empowerment with rubber bands, where the Spectator vanished the 3 rubber bands themselves one at a time, which was really cool. And off the back of that, and this is on the Netrix, Empowerment's also on the Netrix, the coin routine, by the way, but off the back of that, I put out a trick on the Netrix called Banded Empowerment, which is a 3 bands across routine where 3 rubber bands jump from the Spectator's hands into your hand, but they do the vanishes. So it's very similar to Empowerment, but it's with rubber bands. Completely different method, but the effect is the same. Just one's with coins and one's with rubber bands. So that's kind of my work on the on the kind of the concept of the magician doing the magic. But there's a lot of stuff you can do with that in mind reading. You know, the way that I present this very old Richard Ostland routine with a wristwatch. I talked about it last week, and the way I present that, the Spectator reads the mind of the other spectator. So the one spectator reads the mind of the other spectator. So one spectator thinks of a time, and the other spectator takes their watch and twists the dial to a particular time, and they actually predict the time that the first person thought of, which is great. Absolutely awesome. You can frame a lot of routines using this just by changing the presentation around slightly. So for example, and I think about this at the moment because I'm on tour with Killian and he's doing this an awful lot. If you saw Killian's Britain's Got Talent audition, he did the sweet jar thing where he predicts how many sweets are in the sweet jar with a piece of paper inside the jar. Really great trick. But the way Killian presents that is the spectator is doing the work themselves. The spectator is guessing how many sweets are in the sweet jar. In essence, they are doing the mind reading. And a lot of predictions can be framed as the spectator doing it if you just think about how to actually change the presentation of it around slightly. I might do a video on, you know, like the best empowering tricks of all time or something like that, because I think that would be a really interesting video, but that kind of gives you a jumping off point. Okay, so the next question is from Sean Francis Magic, who says, Craig, thanks for the advice with your imposter syndrome. I realise it's all about believing in yourself, and in some situations it really does feel impossible, but I'll continue to cast that aside. My question this week is, in a hypothetical world where you have where you had a captive audience who could never possibly grow tired of magic, how many possible tricks can you fit on a set of keys? I don't mean like practical everyday carry situation. I mean proper 2-act shows worthy of magic based solely on a set of keys, to make it so you don't just throw every product that's ever been released. Say you only want one of each effect, so no more than one ring flight, for example. Curious to see what madness you can come up with. Thanks as always. You must be psychic, because I'm actually doing a video at the moment on basically half an hour set with a bunch of keys, but there's no gimmicks, no physical products that you can buy, no Keymaster's not on there, Monkey's not on there, Scotch and whiskey isn't on there. None of the key tricks are on there. It's just regular keys, and I'm putting a half an hour act together with those keys. And the whole idea is I'm going to go out to an audience, I'm going to do a little show, and I'm going to do a half an hour set with nothing but my keys on me, and I'm going to break down and explain how it all works. And that's something that I'm actually putting together at the moment, and I'm planning on filming it when I come back from Columbus or Ireland with Ryland. There's a lot you can do. I've got a lot of work with keys. When the original Keymaster came out, I was going to put together kind of like almost like a bonus DVD with like 10 or 15 minutes worth of key magic, and I never did. And then with Keymaster, it was long enough as it already was, just explaining the extra routines with the gimmicks, so we didn't do it there. But there's a lot you can do with keys, just regular ungimmick keys. And I'm going to go through a bunch of stuff you can do. So I would say that video is probably going to drop about September. But yeah, you can do an awful lot with a key fob and a keychain, and there's so much you can do. I'm going to do another video as well of the best keychain tricks of all time. So I'm going to be doing that, but I'm also going to be doing this other video on routines with just ungimmick keys. So look out for those. Hopefully that helps. Okay, so the next question is from Dango Thumb Magic, who said, I watched your stage linking rings course on the Netrix and I loved it. I went and ordered some 12-inch rings to perform it, and I accidentally ordered the set with a magnetic key ring instead of a solid gap. Do you have any advice on how to use the magnetic rings instead of a static gap? I've never got on with the magnetic rings ever. It's not something that I'm actually really very good at using. I do linking rings an awful lot. It's in every single one of my shows, but I like to have a nice solid gap there. That's my preferred way of actually performing the routine. Having said that, Ryland does use a magnetic key ring, and the reason he does is because he uses Victor Volko's flying linking rings. And if you don't know the flying linking rings, one of the rings that you get is a magnetic locking ring. It has to be in order to have all of the levitations work. And here's an interesting story. One of the nights of the tour, Ryland was just about to come on stage with the rings, and the thread snapped, and he had no choice but to go out and do a normal linking rings routine with the magnetic key ring. He just pulled the thread off and he just went out there, and he did the routine to music, just like the flying linking rings, and it looked beautiful. It really did. Like, the audience just reacted amazingly. He just came up with a routine on the fly in front of the audience, just a whole bunch of links and unlinks, and it looked really good. And I asked him afterwards, I said, that looks great. And he was like, yeah, I was just blagging it. But the nice thing about, and I was watching him do this, and the nice thing about having that magnetic key ring is that you have some very, very clean displays, because you can very cleanly display the rings, link them, and then show them again once they're linked, which is great. The thing is, you have to kind of you have to know, because, so what Ryland does is he marks where they connect with the magnet. He marks that with a Sharpie marker, because that way he can just look down in case he loses it, because you're never going to lose that with a normal set of rings, because you always can feel the gap at all times, so you always kind of know which way you're orientated. But when you're using a magnetic key ring, they look so good, it's very easy to lose the position, and then you don't want to look really awkward and kind of look like you're messing around with the rings trying to find a gap or something. So he marks it with a Sharpie marker, so in case he ever loses it, he can immediately just see where it was. And the key thing is, you don't want to do everything in one go. So when he does it, and if you watch some of the videos of him doing it, you'll see he displays the rings, and as he comes up, he opens the gap. He then does the link, and he doesn't do any crash links with these because it becomes a little bit more difficult to do a crash link. It's not impossible, but because Ryan's left-handed, he holds the rings the other way around. So he doesn't do crash links, but he does kind of these sort of things which fits the routine because he's doing it very slowly and very elegantly. But he has told me crash links are harder using these rings than other types of links. But he gets the gap, then he does the link. Once he's shown they're linked, he closes it and then displays. I could probably get Ryland on the Q&A at some point to help answer that question, but that's kind of the extent of my knowledge. Okay, so next question is from Archie Cox Magic, who says, "Hi Craig, hope you're well. It was nice to see you and Killian and nice to see you at Killian and Ryland's show. They were both amazing." Oh, thanks, man. It was good to see you as well. I hope you enjoyed the show. My questions. Okay, here we go. What is the best process for learning coin magic? I have Metal by Eric Jones, and I know there's a lot on the Netrix, but I'm not sure the best tricks to start with. And also, should I buy American dollars, half dollars, or just use English coins to start with? It's up to you. My attitude is, if I'm doing magic, if I'm just out and about and someone says, show me a trick, and I'm going to do a coin trick, I'm probably going to borrow the coins off somebody, and I'll use English coins. Whenever I'm performing professionally, and I'm in a close-up job or on stage or whatever, I use American coins. Because my attitude is, if I'm going to make coins appear from thin air, I could make any kind of coin appear. And silver coins just catch the light. They look a bit more visual. Silver dollars look even better. So it's up to you as to which coins that you use. It depends on the type of performer if you are. If you're the type of performer where you kind of like, hey, let me try something, lend me some coins, then that's fine. Don't bother with American coins. But if you're the sort of person that's doing sort of more elegant sort of style routines or getting more into coin magic, then you might want to be the person that gets the American coins. In terms of which is the best size, I use dollars pretty much exclusively. There's a few routines I use half dollars with, but I pretty much use dollars exclusively. Half dollars are pretty good, but if you're going to be performing to a big group of people, dollars are better. Ryland's moved to dollars now. He was using half dollars, but now he's kind of transitioned into dollar size coins. He's getting himself used to the dollars. In terms of where to start, there is a lot on the Netrix. To be honest, I just start with something simple. Start with some coin routines that, you know, there's a difficulty rating on every single routine on the Netrix. Go on to difficulty rating 1 or 2, click on coin magic and learn those routines first. What you want to do is you don't want to overwhelm yourself. You don't want to be watching a routine that requires palming multiple coins and lots of difficult sleight of hand, because you're just going to end up not ever doing it, because it's going to be such a massive disconnect between where you are and where you have to be in order to pull off that sort of routine. So what I would do is I'd start off just with something really simple. Just start off with a vanish. Get used to just doing a vanish to people, because a simple vanish teaches you so much about coin magic. It teaches you palming, it teaches you focus of attention, it teaches you where you should look, which is a big thing with coin magic that a lot of cardicians don't think of. It teaches you all of these important elements that make up a coin magic performance. So I'd start just with a vanish and just maybe learn a flurry. I'm going to make this coin disappear and it's going to appear over here. I'm going to make it vanish over here. It's going to appear here. Just do a really simple flurry first of all, just to get used to how to actually palm a coin, how to hold it secretly in your hand. And it will give you more confidence with coin magic as well, because you'll realize just how much you can get away with. And then once you learn that, well, sky's the limit. So yeah, I'd start on the Netrix. Metal is good. The other great set is from Mir Yedid. He's got the rights to the New York Coin Guys set of DVDs. That's fantastic as well. But yeah, I mean, just start simple and then work your way up to more complicated. Okay, so the next question is again from Archie Cox Magic, who says, in your parlor show, you said you don't use a sticker on a Silk to Egg, but in your Magic Live, you said you use one. Do you now use one, or was that just for the Magic Live? Here's the thing. I don't like using a sticker for all the reasons that I talked about in parlor. Now, I am aware that I am in a massive minority with this, and that most people like using the sticker, and that's fine. My friend Nemid Phoenix has told me I'm an idiot for not including the sticker in my routine, and that is the most magical part. I disagree, but I accept that I am massively in the minority. So the reason that the Silk to Egg went on as a Magic Live is because I was including it as part of the stage magic course in the Netrix, and I wanted people to realise that we've now uploaded Silk to Egg onto the Netrix. And I know that most people will perform it with a sticker. So I wanted to do the sticker version on the Netrix because that's the way that I think most people will perform it. I do briefly talk on the Netrix about how I don't use the sticker, but that's just me. I've got my own reasons for doing that. I do agree that the sticker looks great. It's just not for me. But I knew that most people that go on the Netrix would want to know how to do the sticker handling. So yeah, that's the reason, to be honest. Okay, so the next question is again from Archie Cox, who says, what's the best way to practice your show once you've finished writing it? Have you been watching Innovation to Ovation, which is the mini documentary we're doing with Ryland? He's creating this orange juice act, and every week you can see it developing. I think we're about to go into week 5. We've got to the point where we've actually written the track in the recording studio. You're going to see Ryland going through exactly what we do when Ryland rehearses anything, and I rehearse anything. The whole purpose of Innovation to Ovation was to show people, because this question comes up an awful lot: how do I develop an act? How do I practice the act? How do I rehearse the act? When do I know the act's ready? The whole point of Innovation to Ovation was to show people exactly that, to show people the process that Ryland's going through to create this act for the Young Magician of the Year competition. And you're seeing it every step of the way. So go and watch those, but basically, once you've finished writing it, practice the individual sections, but then the most important thing is to practice it together as a show. A lot of people practice individual sections, but they don't practice the whole thing. And then that's where it falls down with the transitions and moving from one sequence to the other. You know, you don't want to be that guy that goes, right, for my first trick, okay, let me have a look at my list and see what's next. Right, for my next trick, for my next trick, for my next trick, which honestly, unless Ryan rehearses, is the big downfall that he has. It drives me up the wall, to be perfectly honest. So you want to make sure that you're rehearsing the whole act as an act and not just the individual bits. That's really, really important. And you can start off, once you've got the individual sections down, you can pantomime the whole thing. You don't have to have a theatre to go and practice it. You can pantomime it in your living room. Think about where your props are going to be. Think about where everything's going to be, and then pantomime. Okay, and now I need to walk over here. Now I need to walk over here. Now I need to do this. Now I need to do that. Pantomime through all of this. It's really important that you do that. And then find yourself a space that you can go and rehearse this. It could be hire a village hall for a couple of hours, or find someone that's got a space big enough where you can rehearse. Do something like that. But you want to kind of put as much and actually practice the whole thing with the props, because by doing that, you'll understand, you'll see where you have to change things because things aren't working the way you're going to, so you need to put something over there, or maybe you need to change the tricks around based on all of this. So get all the individual sections down and then rehearse the whole thing, and just keep rehearsing it until it's ready. Okay, so the next question is MCK Magic, who says, hi Craig, hope everything is well. Good luck to Ryan and on his tour with Killian, by the way. Thank you so much. It's going really well. I have 2 questions for you this week. Right. How do you manage the time when performing shows? Like when you're on stage, how do you check how much more time left you have to perform the show? This is a problem I get, especially with kid shows. I have a very simple solution to that, because I used to massively overrun. I just take my phone and I put it in my case. Normally, if I'm running a show, I'm running everything out of a case. I'm not like Ryland. They haven't got like an entire long wheelbase van to do a 30-minute show. Everything is inside my case, right? And I have my phone inside there as well. So when I start the show, I make it so that the screen doesn't go off. And when I start the show, I just hit start on the timer, and that's going to give me an idea, so that when I'm going back to the case to get something, I can constantly keep an eye on the thing. The other thing to do is to have a watch on or something like that, like an Apple Watch, but set a timer for, like, when you start, make sure that the watch is on silent, and then put like a 40, let's say your show's 45 minutes, put a 40-minute timer on. So it's going to vibrate 5 minutes before the end, and that'll give you an idea that you need to wrap it up because you've only got 5 minutes left. Time management is so important when you're performing professionally. Like Ryland's got a whole bunch of ensemble shows that he is doing this summer. So when the tour finishes with Killian, he's got like, I think about 15 dates where he's working on an ensemble show. He's just taken a couple of bookings at the Great British Summer Spectacular, I think it is, in Norfolk. So if you're there, go and check it out. But he's got some down London as well. And it's really important that when you're on an ensemble, like he's doing 10 minutes in the first half. Now that won't be a problem because they want the Harry Potter act in the first half. So that runs 10 minutes, so super simple. But then he has 10 minutes in the second half. And it's really important that he comes into that 10 minutes, because if he doesn't, it's going to push all the other acts back, and that's not professional. So timing and being able to understand the timing of show is so important. Like luckily with Ryland's stuff, he roughly we know the Flying Linking Rings is going to be 4.5 minutes. We know that the Venom Cube routine is going to be 4 minutes, and we know the light act's going to be 4, that sort of thing. So it tends not to be a problem, but it's really important that you get management of time down when performing, especially when you're on an ensemble show. Okay, so the next question is again from MCK Magic, who says, what's your favorite Penn and Teller routine? I love, they don't do it anymore, but I love the water tank that they do. And if you don't know what the routine is, Teller's inside a water tank, and he's got like an oxygen mask on and a set of goggles, like big scuba diving goggles, and he's in like a water tank. And there's some oxygen there, there's an oxygen thing there. And Penn comes out and he gets somebody up on stage and he says, here, I want you to have this timer. And he gets somebody else on stage, and he says, right, I'm going to have you pick a card, and before we start, I'm going to take away Teller's oxygen, and we're not going to give him more oxygen until I've found the card. And that's the premise. So he removes the oxygen, and then he gets the spectator to pick a card, gets them to sign it, loses it in the pack. He's going through various different card revelations. He's failing every time. The person with the timer, every 15 seconds, is calling out the time. And the whole premise is hilarious. And the bottom line is Teller's getting, there's this moment where he's like, congratulations, you've just broken the world record. And it gets to the point where it hasn't worked and Teller's just dead. Just floating there dead in the tank. and then they turn him round, and the signed card is inside his scuba diving goggles. It's brilliant. There is a performance of them doing that on YouTube to who's the guy's name that played Basil Fawlty in Fawlty Towers? I've completely forgotten his name, which is terrible because I'm a huge Monty Python fan. But yeah, the guy that plays Basil Fawlty, please tell me down below. I should give my British card back, shouldn't I? But there's a performance to him. Oh my God. I have to find out whose name is, because this is annoying me. Basil Fawlty. Let's see. Let's have a look here. Why is John Cleese? How could I have forgotten that? John Cleese, thank you. So there's a oh my God, there's a performance on there. There's a performance on YouTube to John Cleese. So if you just type in Penn and Teller water tank John Cleese, it'll come up, and it's hilarious. It's my favourite routine that they do. Okay, so the next question is from Matt Sickmere, who says, hi Craig, do you have any suggestions for simple effects that work best for a 50-60 person size show with a stage? Our local outdoor theatre does talent shows, but asked for no more than 5 minutes. Any ideas? So you need a 5-minute routine for a 50 to 60 person size show with a stage. Destination Mistake on the Netrix. Sorry to pimp my own thing out there. But Destination Mistake is the closer to my cabaret show, and I know a lot of people use this. You could do that in 5 minutes. Just about you could do that in 5 minutes, and that is an incredible routine. A really fun routine. But realistically, in terms of suggestions for simple effects that work best for 50, 60, so it depends on the type of performer that you want to be. Like, do you want to do magic to music like Ryland? You know, you could do a linking rings routine to music. You could do a you could do a manipulation routine to music. You could do a multiplying bottles routine to music, or are you kind of more of a pattern magician? Think about the type of magic that you want to perform. Me personally, if I was told I've got 5 minutes in front of 60 people and I need to impress them, I would do something. I would probably do one of 3 tricks. I would either do egg bag, I would do fiber optics, or I'd do egg bag, I'd do fiber optics, or I'd do destination mistake. Those are the 3 that I would do. And I could do all 3 of those in 5 minutes. And I have a feeling Ryland would probably do Venom Cube, or a blindfold cube solve, or his light act. But it depends on you. You know, I mean, I love egg bag. I know with egg bag, I can get 2 people up. I can get a lot of comedy. I can get a lot of interaction. It's a fun routine. It's got a big finish. It's great. Same with fiber optics. There's a lot of magical moments. What I wouldn't want to do is a long mentalism piece that builds up to one finale, and it's a lot of sort of a lot of talking and a lot of talking and a lot of talking to build up to 1 minute. If you've only got 5 minutes, you want to grab them. You want to get their attention and get their attention hard, and you want to just like really kind of like fit as much magic in as possible. But that's my opinion, because that's the style of performer I am. It might be Matt would disagree with me. Matt would probably go and do, well, I don't think Matt's got anything he could do in 5 minutes, but I'm sure he'd figure out something. But it would be a lot of talking through to one finale, and he would make it work. And that's the point. Everybody has their own way of performing. Everybody has their own interests. Everyone has their own kind of way of doing stuff. Something that would work, we talked about it earlier on, something that would work great in a 5 minute set in front of that size audience is Silk to Egg. Silk to Egg are worth great. You could come out and say, hey, I've only got 5 minutes, so I thought what I'd do is I'd break the golden rule of magic and teach you all how to do a magic trick. I'm going to teach you all how to do one of the greatest tricks of all time. Boom, job done. So there's a lot of different options. Just think about the type of performer you are and the sort of magic that you want to perform. Okay, so the next question is from user JL5QY3UF3T. Oh boy. Okay, nice to meet you. Hi Craig, regarding Keymaster and the holes, have you ever thought about extending it to tokens that people use with trolleys that also have a hole in it that's approximately a £1 coin? If you like the idea, I want to cut to the royalties. Lol, Phil Lawson. Never really thought of that, to be perfectly honest. There's a lot of different things that you can do with coins. With holes. I think on the project, on the Keymaster project, I actually put a routine on there where it's a transposition between a coin and a key. And they're holding on, you show a coin, you show a key, the coin and the key keep changing places. And for the finale, they hold on to the coin and the key, but the hole changes places. So when the one person looks at their hand, there's no hole on the key, and the other person opens up their hand, and now the hole's in the coin, which was a really fun way of actually performing the routine. That works really well. And it's not tokens, but it's that sort of thing. I've got holes going on business cards, on playing cards, on all sorts of different stuff. But yeah, tokens, really great idea. I tell you, if I ever come up with something with it, you get the royalties. Okay, so the next question is Magic Human 782, who says, I was doing a trick which involved the spectator shuffling the cards under the table as they are split into red and black, and they have half the cards which are red, but don't know however they ended up looking, and then questioned why they were all red. What do you do in this situation? I'm trying to understand the question, to be honest. I was doing a trick which involved the spectator shuffling the cards under the table as they are split into red and black, and they have half the cards which are red. Okay, so they think they've got a mixed up deck, but they've got all the red cards, but don't know about it. So they don't know they've got the red cards that they have. However, they ended up looking and then questioned why they're all red. What do I do in this situation? You know, it's a bit of a cliche, but this is just down to audience management, my friend. That's what this is down to, just audience management. If you're having an issue with people turning over the cards, you could just say, look, it's really important to me that I don't know the order of any card in the deck. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take the cards and put them under the table. I want to mix them up under the table so that nobody, not you, not you, not you, not me, nobody knows the order of the cards. When you've mixed them out under the table, take them out and put them face down on the table in front of you. That way, I'm not going to know the top card, the bottom card, or any card in between. But it's even more important that you don't know the order of the cards either. Because if I could really read minds and you knew what the bottom card was, I could take that information out of your mind. And I don't want that. So mix the cards up as much as you want. Don't anyone see the order, and then put them face down on the table. A lot of the time, it's just being clear about your instructions before you actually have the spectator kind of do the action that you want them to do. It's about being clear, it's about being concise, and it's about letting them know what you need them to do. And also giving them a reason why you want them to do it. If you just go, mix up the cards, but don't look at the faces, it's like, well, why? Now you're into... It's kind of like that old thing, isn't it? What I want you to do right now, you're listening to this, do not think of a grey elephant. You probably can't help yourself, right? You're thinking of a grey elephant. You have no choice. If somebody tells you to not do something, you can't help yourself but to do it. So if you say to somebody, mix up the cards, but don't look at the faces, they're going to have a peek at the faces. They just are. But if you give them a reason why they shouldn't look at the faces, then it won't be an issue. Okay? That's probably the best way of doing it. It's simple audience management, but it'll work. Actually build that stuff into your presentation. Okay, so the next question is Andy Putt, who says, oh my gosh, quite a few questions here. Now, with the Olympic Games, do you have any suggestions about tricks that are about multiple sports? I understand there are options like making ESP cards with the TCC marked billets by writing different sports on the other side, but are these tricks fully about different sports? Realistically, I think it's just about what you have to do is you just have to think about existing routines and how you can adapt that to a sports presentation. So, for example, Out of This World, you could take a double blank deck of cards and write 52 different sports on there. And then you could have, they could be divided into sports with balls and sports that don't use balls, for example. And I'm just coming up with this off the top of my head. But you could have them, do an Out of This World, and they've mixed up the cards themselves, and that sort of thing. It could be a confabulation. It could be that you're having somebody decide that they're going to compete in a sports game. What sports game are they going to compete in? And they're going to have a person that's in there. They're going to have a person that they're competing against. Who's that person they're going to be competing against? And then they have to decide what the outcome is. So, for example, it could be like, right, you're going to be playing a sport, any sport in the world. What sport do you want to play? I want to play ping pong. Okay, fantastic. You're playing ping pong or table tennis. The next question is, when you're playing table tennis, you're going to compete against anybody. It doesn't have to be a professional table tennis player. It could be any sports person. It could be anybody. Who do you want to compete against? I want to compete against Pickford. Okay, England keeper, but you want him to be the person you're playing table tennis against. I don't know if he's any good at table tennis, but I guess we're going to find out. And now we're going to go for the result. What's the result of the game against you and Pickford? What's the result? And you've predicted all of that. So that's taken a simple confabulation and creating it about sports. Sports. Now the other thing that you can do is you can do kind of like a force of a sport and have the prediction match the sport. So Ryland actually does this in his show. He's got this thing where he produces a baseball bat. So he's got this little bag, and inside the bag, it's obviously there's nothing in there, and it's a very small bag. And he's got a rough deck with all these his favourite sports on it, and they pick baseball, and he pulls out a baseball bat. And then after the baseball bat, he produces the baseball, and then he goes into a multiplying balls routine with baseballs. So that's another thing that you can do. The same could come true with a bowling ball production. You could force a bowling ball, do a bowling ball from briefcase, or do bowler armor or something like that. So there's a lot of different ways that you can actually use sports. Think about apps like Digital Force Bag. Look at my if you've got the Mirage deck project that came out through Alakazam earlier, which was my my release with Alakazam this year, my Mirage deck project. I put a routine on there all about predicting a film that someone thinks about, but you could actually very easily adapt that to a sport. You could have somebody think of a sport, and you could have predicted that. Think about all the different ways that you can take magic and you can take mentalism and you can apply it to a sports game instead. Think of dress code. Imagine that you had dress code, and imagine that you had them think of a sport, and then you have them think of a team, and you have them think of a player on that team. And you're wearing a black t-shirt, and then when you do dress code by Kayla Morelli and you turn around, now you've got a football top, for example, that matches that team, and it's got the name of the person that they're thinking of on the back. You know, anything like that would work. Think about taking a book on sports statistics and grabbing one of the impromptu methods to doing a book test and applying that to a book but on sports statistics. Or Ryland's just bought an autobiography of Pickford. You could have, because that's his favourite player, you could have an autobiography of a sports player and do a book test. There's so many different ways that you can actually go with it if you just kind of think it through, if that kind of makes sense. Okay, so the next question is again from Andy Putt, who says, will there be a review on Joel Miranda's Equaliser? Yes, very possibly. I will get to that. I've got it sitting on my desk. It's just I haven't had time to properly look at it yet. A lot of Joel Miranda's stuff requires a bit more effort and a bit more thought. So it is coming, a review is coming. It's just probably not going to be this month. Okay, so the next question is again from Andy Putt, who says, which creators would you like to collaborate on inventing a magic trick with? All of them. I love collaborations, I really do. I'm collaborating with a few people at the moment. I'm collaborating with Rich Relish. I'm collaborating with Eric Stevens. I'm collaborating with Chris James, Lloyd Barnes, Jake from the Black Arts podcast, who is absolutely amazing. Ryland, whole bunch of different people I'm collaborating with at the moment, to be perfectly honest. There's more. Sven from Green Lemon. A bunch of different people. I love collaborating. I really do. Matthew Wright. I'm doing some stuff with Matthew Wright at the moment. TCC. Doing some stuff with TCC. So yeah, I love collaboration. Nicholas Lawrence, kind of in an indirect sort of way. I'm collaborating with Nicholas Lawrence. Anybody who wants to collaborate with me, I'm an open book. I'm open ears. Okay, again, another question from Andy Putt, who says, do you know tricks where you make a ring appear instead of disappear? Yeah, I mean, you can make rings appear anywhere you want to. I mean, obviously, the classic way of making a ring appear is on a ring flight, right? So you can make a ring appear on a ring flight. And there's lots of different ways of doing that. Lots of different ring flights that have come out through the years. Some of them are good. Some of them are not so good. But ring flights are great. One of my favorite ways to make a ring appear was by Mark Leverage. And you can't get this anymore, but some second-hand places have it. It was a little box, and you could show it empty, and it's just got cotton wool in it, but it's empty. And you put the lid on, you put it on the table, and anytime you want to make the ring vanish, you just pick it up, you shake it to hear something in there, you take the lid off, and now the ring's in there. It's an amazing prop. It really is. Really, really good. That's a great place to make a ring appear. Where else can you make a ring appear? Back in the day, I think you can still get these. We used to get something called a Sing Sing ring box, which is kind of like a ring box that is padlocked, and it has a hinge side, so you could load a ring in there. You could do a bill tube, but put a ring in there. That works really well. Obviously, you've got Get Smarty by Mark Bennett, which is a great way of doing it. You've got the new thing that Saturn Magic and Mark Infinity put out, which is in my review pile, but I haven't looked at yet. That's a great, looks really, really good in the trailer. I haven't really watched it yet, but it looks like a great way to make a ring appear inside a tube of sweets or mints. Obviously, if you're going up onto stage, you've got what Nemid uses an awful lot, which is a ring and gumble machine. That looks great. The way that I make a ring appear an awful lot is by a Cody Fisher prop, where the ring vanishes and appears in a see-through box in a ball of wool inside a little silver box, which is wrapped up by elastic bands. That's a killer routine, that is. Daryl, a routine that I learned from Daryl with a coin, but I've used for a ring for years, is taking a handkerchief, showing it empty, and tying a knot in it, and then giving them the spectator to hold either end, and they can see the knot in the handkerchief. Then you make the ring vanish, and when they open it up, inside the handkerchief, inside the knot that you tied right at the very beginning, is their ring. That's a great way of doing it as well. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else. You can obviously make it appear in your pocket. You can have a coin vanish. You can have a coin change into a ring. That works really well. You can have that routine where you take a ring and swallow it, and then you take the dental dam and the flossing stuff, and you pull it through your neck, and you pull the ring onto that. That looks really good as well. Regal ring chain, make the ring disappear and appear on your chain. Obviously Northbound, which is Egg Inc.'s version, which has just come out recently. All of those different ways of doing it work. You know, there's lots of different ways of making a ring vanish. Obviously, I keep thinking of more. You've got Richard Sanders Interlaced, where the ring appears on the laces of the shoe. I know that Vanishing Ink brought out a version of that recently with a completely different method. Yeah, you could do a Michael Lamar type thing, load it on your head and have the spectator cup their hands together and it just appears out of nowhere. You could have it appear in a phone and do like a card to phone type thing, but with a ring. Obviously, you've got the nest of wallets, which Einhorn popularized and has been around for years now, but where the ring vanishes and appears inside a folded up napkin inside a nest of wallets. That's really good. You've got a normal nest of boxes. If you're performing on stage, you can have it go into a nest of boxes. You can have it go into a card box. You can have a card box which is wrapped up with elastic bands and have it appear inside a card box to make it look a little bit more organic. Any of these methods would work really, really well. It's kind of, use your imagination. Think about the most impossible place that you could put a ring and then figure out the best way to get it there. Okay, so the next question is from Andrew Wigan, who says, "Hi Craig, a question came up recently that I thought would be worth bringing over here to see what you think about. There's a lot of places to learn magic, but some magicians actually offer one-on-one private lessons. Do you know any magicians who do this that would be good to reach out to for lessons?" So I have my gold membership on the Netrix, which is limited in numbers, and the whole idea is every 2 weeks or every two times a month I have a 1 hour session with each member of the Netrix that's gold level. So you get 2 hours of my time every month, and it's designed for people who are really trying to build towards a particular goal, because we kind of go, right, okay, where were we last week, where are we moving on to this week, and it's kind of, you know, seeing progress. And it doesn't always have to be about magic. It can be about technique. It can be about show building, act building. It can be about marketing. It can be about business, whatever. But I do that. And I've been thinking, you can help me out here, actually. I don't really have much time at the moment to extend the gold membership for any other people. It's something I'd like to do in the future, but I don't know when. However, I've been thinking about maybe allocating a couple of slots a month that people can book for one-off 1 hour sessions on any particular subject, but I don't know if that's something that people would be into. So maybe you guys can let me know if that's something that you'd be interested in. But I know Justin Miller does private sessions. I know Eric Jones used to do private sessions, but I don't think he does anymore. I'm pretty sure Michael Close does private lessons, and as far as I'm concerned, Michael Close is one of the greatest magicians in the world today. There's a bunch of people that do private lessons. Obviously, you have to make sure that you are doing it with somebody who's reliable and dependable, because you know you're basically making sure the key thing is making sure they're going to turn up and they're going to take it seriously. You know, if they're just going to like FaceTime you from a bus, you know, that's not going to be as good, for example, as sitting down in a custom studio and you get an hour of their time, and you know, it's that's what, or however long it's going to be, that's what's really important. But I can't really give you much advice. I think it's a really good idea. I love working with the people in the Netrix that are gold members, and I see how much they've improved from when I started working with them through to now. And the fact that pretty much everybody who joined the Netrix at the beginning as a gold member is still here now just speaks volumes as to how they feel it's gone as well. But yeah, I think that it's a good idea. But I think it very much depends. Make sure you do some research into it. Do some due diligence whenever you're going into business with somebody, or whenever you're doing business with somebody. One of the most important things is to figure out that they're the right person for you. That's in terms of the type of magic that they do, the type of thing they're going to teach. Are they Qualified? Michael O'Brien, somebody else that does lessons. Don't want to forget Michael, he's amazing. But what credibility do they have? You know, if they're teaching you how to grow your social presence on social media, have they grown their social presence on social media? I met somebody a little while ago who was saying that they're an expert in YouTube. But when I looked at their YouTube, they had 50 subscribers, and they were like, oh no, I know about it, I just don't do it myself. Well, shut up. You know, that's like being a business coach, but never having run your own business. It's ridiculous. And that happens in this country. There are people that advertise themselves as business coaches and have never run their own business. It's ridiculous. It's one of my pet hates. So if you are, you know, taking advice off somebody who wants to tell you how to get more gigs and they've not got more gigs, then they're not the right person to speak to. You know, make sure that the person that you speak to can back up what they're saying. You know, they're charging you. You need to make sure that they are worthy of that money that you're paying them. I think that's the most important thing. Okay, so the next question is from Steedman, who says, hi Craig, thanks for answering my last question. It was a great help. Will the coin tutorials with Matt become a regular thing? I was hoping to practice along with him. Yes. Everything has kind of been put on hold with regards to that, just because we're on tour at the moment. So Matt's kind of busy, I'm busy, Ryland's busy, Killian's busy. All of this is just blowing up at the moment. Then I've got to go to America. But in September, we should be hopefully getting back to normal here at Magic TV. My key thing was over August, even though I'm all over the place, making sure that videos are going up regularly for you guys. That was kind of the most important thing. But yes, you will be seeing a lot more coin tutorials with Matt, 100%. Okay, so the next question is from Michael Altman, who says, Craig, you're amazing. Thank you so much. Every single day we are indebted to you. No problem, buddy. No problem at all. I think the recent wedding question trick by the best man, it sounds like he maybe wanted to do it while he gave his best man speech in front of the crowd. And the tricks that you mentioned were close up. What would you think about when he's up at the mic? I don't know. I've had this question before. So the question is, you're a best man, you're doing a speech about the groom. What tricks would you incorporate into the best man speech? And the answer is, I don't know. And the reason I don't know is because I don't think I would use magic in a best man speech. And the reason I wouldn't is because I wouldn't want to make it about me. I'd want to make it about him. And I don't see how you can do a magic trick and not make it about you. Even if you're making the magic trick about him, even if it's some lovey-dovey soppy thing with a picture of a bride and a picture of the groom, and you put them together and there's a big flash of smoke and it becomes a picture of both of them sitting together, I still don't see how you can make that about them. And I think there's a time and place for magic. And I think there are routines where you can make it about the spectator. But when you're standing up on stage at your, you know, the person who you're talking about, it's their happiest day of their life, I think that's not a time to do magic, to be perfectly honest. I don't think that's a time I would want to do magic, because at that point, I want to put him over. I want to make him the superstar. And yeah, maybe I'm going to take the piss, I'm going to tell a few jokes, but ultimately I want to make it about that person. And I don't see how doing a magic trick would do that. Maybe I'm wrong. And maybe because of my attitude or my opinion on this, it's difficult for me to think of some tricks that I could do, because I don't think anything would work. But I think that's the problem. I think if you're a best man, I think the key thing is put the groom over, chat a few minutes about the groom, maybe tell a few simple jokes, but ultimately it needs to be about them. You know, it needs to be about them and not having the focus on you. And I think performing a magic trick would make the focus all about you. Okay, so the next question is Bryselfia, who says, hope you've had a great week, Craig. Yes, I have. Thank you very much. What would you say are the best magic and mentalism apps to look into? Well, the ones I perform all the time are Toxic Plus, I perform Toxic Plus. There you go. Toxic Plus is one. Digital Force Bag, Wikitest, Cognito, Maxim, Joshua Riley's thing with the money. Joshua Riley's thing with the money. I can't remember with the bank cards. I love that. I can't remember the name of it, but I absolutely love it. I did a review show special on it recently. Yeah, those are the ones that I think are the best. They're coming out all the time. Apps are just coming out like literally every second, and I can't keep track of all of them. Some of them are great, some of them are not so great. I limit the amount of apps that I use. Card to Phone is one that I use an awful lot as well. And R-Digit I use an awful lot. And Timeline, the back in time thing. All of those I tend to use a lot of. Yeah, they're the main ones. Okay, so the next question is, again, from Bryce Elphia, who says, are there any courses on the Netrix for ideas and routines with marked cards? Yes, I put together a bunch of routines with marked cards for Steve Deller's Night Flight deck, which is an amazing marked deck. And they've been there since launch. And I love the Night Flight deck. My favourite deck is anything to do with Phil Smith, as you know, but I am biased. But the Night Flight deck is great. And so there's some of the routines there that have been there since launch. We are planning on putting a marked deck section together because I've got a bunch of routines with a marked deck, and I want to actually include those as well on top of the ones that were there on launch, and I'm going to be adding those. So probably come September, me and Jack are going to be filming a whole bunch of marked deck routines, and they're going to be going up on the Netrix. And then what we'll do when we create that category, we'll take all of the existing marked deck routines that are on there as well and put those into the category. So there's some on there. I think there's 4 or 5 on there, but we're going to be adding a whole bunch more over the next month or two. Okay, so the next question is from David W, who says, hey, my question is about family magic. I'm trying to broaden some of my repertoire so families can enjoy it. So many of my gigs are being for adults, but I'm getting more requests for family magic, and I'm wanting a visual, easy to understand tricks, Grandma's Miracle, etc. I'm looking at learning a chop cup. Do you have any advice on the best chop cut sets? I like Michael O'Brien's strolling chop cut routine. Out of interest, does your chop trick work for strolling, or does it rely on a table? Any other thoughts or good commercial family magic? I imagine there's tons of content on the Netrix. Yes, there is. When you you're talking about gigs, you haven't said shows at any point, so I'm thinking that you're talking about close up and walk around. If you're talking about a show, let me know, but I think you're talking about walk around, especially with the question about chop cups. So chop, first of all, Michael O'Brien's trick is amazing. Chop, I go through several techniques, and some of the techniques work on a table, some of the techniques work in the spectator's hand. Majority of the routine I do involves being on the spectator's hand. In fact, chop is pretty much the only chop cup I know where you can vanish a ball off the spectator's hand. So you can have them hold their hand up, you can put the ball on their hand, you can cover it up with the cup, they can feel it in there, and then you snap and you say, did you feel it go? And they actually feel it go, and you lift up the cup and you show the inside and it's actually gone. Likewise, you can actually vanish the ball. You can make the ball appear on the spectator's hand, but you can control the drop. So you can actually put the cup here and you can say go. And when they say go, they'll feel the ball land on their hand. So chop is designed for a strolling type environment. Absolutely 100%. So that's the first thing that you need to know. So yes, I think I'm trying to go through all the questions. So yes, that's great. And you mentioned Grandma's Miracle. That's absolutely fantastic as well. If you're wanting stuff that works in a family, sponge balls works great. Sponge bunnies works great. I should do a video on the best family tricks of all time, or the best routines for families of all time. But sponge bunnies, sponge balls work great. Any sort of rope routines, ring on rope, fiber optic style routines, they work great. All of that's on the Netrix. Ring on rope, borrowing a spectator's ring and doing it on and off a string, that works great. Ring on wand, absolutely brilliant, like the Vernon routine or my routine, but really, really well. Any sort of coin routines work great. Level up is brilliant. I know I'm promoting my own stuff here, but the whole idea of level up with the transpositions with switch cartridges work great with adults and kids. That's a super fun routine to do. What else? Keymaster works really good, as does stuff like Scotch and Whiskey and Chris Rawlins' version. All of those work great. Any sort of pen through bill or key through bill, that works really well. Trying to think of what else. They're the ones that I think off the top of my head are the ones that you should instantly go for. So those are the ones that I would suggest that I would kind of aim for first of all. That'll give you a massive repertoire. And notice I've not actually said any card tricks. Also, the Deuce Gala thing with the Ladybird. That looks really good. It's a little bit like the Web by Jim Pace, but less scary. That's a really fun routine to do, the Ladybird thing. So yeah, those are the ones that I kind of recommend first and foremost. But definitely Grandma's Miracle. Definitely 100% Grandmother's Miracle. That's a really cool trick. Okay, so the next question is from Mystery Man, who says, thanks for answering the important questions. You're more than welcome. I have another one. If you're just starting out in gigging, how do you go about getting paid? And should it be before or after the show? Always get paid before the show. Always, always, always get paid before the show. You will eventually get stiffed. If you leave it until after the show, you will get stiffed. And these days, it makes you look more of a professional if you're getting paid before the show than if you're getting paid after the show. In my company, we ask for a deposit up front on booking, or within a few days of the booking taking place. We want that deposit. And then the balance is due 2 weeks before the event. That is standard. Even with companies, we used to make an exception for companies because they had weird payment terms, but even with companies now, we have enforced this same thing. And we've lost a couple of clients because they've said we can't pay you until after the event, and we've said, well, you know, unfortunately then we can't do the event for you, because it's more important to us from a cash flow point of view that we know that that money's coming into the bank account, because then we know when the money's coming in, we know when people are being told they've got to pay by. All that stuff is very important, and it's kind of the standard way of doing things now, and it's so easy to take payments online. It's so easy to get people to pay you ahead of time. So I would suggest take a deposit or a booking fee on booking, and then the balance is payable 2 weeks beforehand. That is how I would do it. Okay, so the next question is from Hankster72, who said 27, who says, I need some serious help. I was planning on going to the P3 Magic Theatre sometime around August. When I went to check out what the shows were, I had a variety of answers. Some said that there were a monthly show. Some said that it was a weekly show. Some people say you pay for tickets in advance. Some case first come, first served. Also, when is the P3 Magic Shop open? I couldn't find any information on that. Is it open on the weekends or only to some people who see a show at the theatre? Thanks so much. It's open most of the time, not every day. Let me just see if I can find something here. So the shop, the theatre. Here you go. So it's actually on the website. I've just gone to p3magic.com and everything's there. So p3magic.com. Let's have a look. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday by appointment. It's not really open Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday, 12 till 6. Friday, 12 till 6. Saturday, Sunday by appointment. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday by appointment, but it's open all day, 12 till 6 on Thursday and Friday. Then there's a number at the bottom. It says, please call blah or email blah to schedule an appointment. So if you're not going on the Wednesday or the Thursday or the Friday, you can still get an appointment to go in. It's also got the shows on here. What shows have they got coming up in August? So they've got a Family Magic show on the 18th of August, a Lost in the Shuffle screen film premiere on the 22nd of August. Please Shuffle the Cards with Eric Tate on the 23rd of August. Please Shuffle the Cards with Eric Tate on the 24th of August. So there's a bunch of different shows coming up in August. I'm going to be there, by the way, in August. I'm going to be there from about the 8th to about the 14th. I'm not doing a show there, but I'm filming a whole bunch of stuff. So yeah, go on to p3magic.com. All the information is on there. It's just at the very bottom. Sometimes it's hard to see. Okay, so the next question is from Hankster27, who says, since we're over the hill in 24, what are your 3 current picks for Trick of the Year? Are you aware of anything coming out soon that could take the title? Trick of the Year. Top 3. Infinity Deck by me. Evoke by me. Magic button by me. Next question. In all seriousness. What are the 3 tricks for trick of the year? Man, I don't know. There's been some really great stuff. There've been some really... You know what? I think there's an outside contender might be Evaporate. I know that's been one of Alakazam's best-selling tricks of all time, and it continues to sell, and everybody that I speak to loves it, and there's so many people doing it on social media, and everybody loves it. I wouldn't be surprised if Evaporate didn't get Trick of the Year. Also, I know that Eric Stevens has a trick that's launching at, doing a soft launch at Magic Live with Alakazam called Sticks. And it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And I think the live launch happened shortly afterwards. I wouldn't be surprised if that was Trick of the Year as well. Talking about Alakazam, Bricked. I know Bricked will be out before the end of the year. And Bricked, I gave it Trick of the Blackpool Magic Convention 2024. It's by Drew Perry, good friend of mine and an absolute genius. I would not be shocked at all if Bricked got Trick of the Year. I think that those 3 tricks right there are phenomenal. I also think the Experiment by Joel Dickinson is really good, and everybody loves the Experiment by Joel Dickinson. I think that's great. I don't know, there's some really good ones, right? There's some great tricks this year. You know what? If I had to pick one of my tricks from this year that I think could get Trick of the Year, I'm calling it now, Eye Stretch. It's coming out later this year. I think that can be Trick of the Year. I really do. I think it's the best thing I've ever done. Okay, so the next question here is from Stan Dart. Hey, Andreas, hope you're well. Hi, Craig. As always, you're just the greatest. And if I'm allowed to advertise here, I want to stress out and I want to urge everyone to consider becoming a silver member on your Netrix. Those virtual magic clubs which are included are just priceless. Thank you so much. I love hanging out with the silver members. So if you don't know, in the silver level of the Netrix, every week, 4 times a month, we have a virtual magic club, and there's always a loose thing. They're meant to run an hour. They normally end up running 2 or 3 hours, and they're all on various different things. Sometimes I'll have somebody come in and do a masterclass. Sometimes I'll do something on a particular routine or a particular concept. Sometimes it might just be a Q&A, but they're always super fun. I love doing them, and they always go on way longer than they should do, really, to be honest, but I just can't shut up. That's my problem. And then they all get recorded, so when you become a member of the Netrix, you get access to every single VMC from the very first one. When the Netrix launched like 3 years ago, you get access to every single one of them. It's insane, really. Okay, so but Stan Dart's also got a question. Last year, you mentioned that for those Alakazam Elite coin set users, you were going to record some extra stuff using crossover routines. When do you envisage this will drop into our portfolio? Now that half of 2024 has already passed. It was meant to be in August. For those of you that... No, it was meant to be in July. I went to Alakazam in July, and I was meant to be there for 4 days, and I left after 1 day because my wife rang me and said, my dog Coco is going to need to be put down. It's happening tomorrow. You have to get back. So I got to Alakazam, and I literally left that night, travelled through the night to get home because I couldn't not say goodbye to my dog. And I wasn't in the right frame of mind to then go back to Alakazam. So they're definitely going to be filmed before the end of the year. I'm back at Alakazam in September, but September, I've got a lot to do when I get there in September. But I am going to be there again one more time before the end of the year at least. So we'll probably film it then. And I've already got everything written and everything. I just need to get into the studio and filming it. So I'm really sorry it didn't happen when I went in July, but it was a difficult time. But it will be done. I would imagine probably in the next month or two, but everything's written, everything's ready to go from my point of view. Okay, so the next question is from Yuri, who says, hey, Craig, hope you're doing well. Yes, mate. Another incredible member of the silver level of the Netrix. I was curious what you'd say is the most overrated trick out there. The most overrated trick out there. Oh, shall it be controversial? I'll be controversial. Go on then. I think it's the floating table. I think it's the floating table by Lysander. I think the only person I've ever seen do that well is Lysander. Everyone else, it looks like you're holding a table with a stick. Lysander makes it look good. Nobody else that I've seen makes it look good, including some huge big names. And I just think that it's one that everybody does, and I think it just looks terrible. I remember Alex Lodge going and doing it on Britain's Got Talent, and just the judges were laughing at it. And it's not that he did it badly, he didn't. It's just that there's so much better stuff out there. Ryland, who loves floating stuff, I showed him a video of this, and he was like, "Nah, I wouldn't want to do that. It's just not very good." No, I don't like. Somehow Lysander makes it look brilliant. Lysander does actually make it look really good. And the new version that is brought out with the Vanish is better, because the Vanish at the end is great. Actually, no, there's one other person I saw make it look good, and he was at the Midwest Magic Convention on the Gala show. And he was doing it in the Gala show, and he did the vanishing version where he floated it and then it vanished, and that was good. I thought that looked decent. And that's because he kind of flew it out over the heads of the audience the way that he performed it. But generally, I just think it's the most overrated trick in the world. I just think that pretty much everybody makes it look like what it is, which is a lightweight table with a stick on it. I just think it's just not very good. I just don't think it's very good. That's probably my most overrated trick of all time. Yeah. I could think of more. Maybe I need to do a list of them. But the floating table definitely is up there. Okay, so the next question is Divishan Magician, who says, do you use Richard Young's version of Torn and Restored card for changing cards, or is it only really for social media, or does it also work in real life gigs? I've been doing that trick since before you were born, man. I've been doing that trick since before you were born. I remember buying that from Bob Swaddling so many years ago at the Blackpool Magic Convention, and I have killed with that trick for 20 years plus. It is brilliant. Does it work in the real world? Hell yes. When I worked in restaurants, I used to do that trick every single table. I would overuse that trick. I had like 5 of them because I didn't want to ever lose it. Yes, that is the best Torn and Restored card that there is on the market. I love it. And as good as it looks on social media, and it does look good on social media, it also looks incredible live. And yeah, it's really good. But it's not Richard Young's, it's Bob Swaddling's. Richard Young bought the rights to present it and perform it and create them and manufacture them. But I think it's really important that we remember that it's Bob Swaddling's effect, and it's Richard did the right thing, and Richard's amazing. I'm a big fan of Richard Young and Sam Strange. But yeah, it's Bob Swaddling's, and yes, it is absolutely workable in the real world, and then some. Okay, so the next question is from Divishan Magician, who says, at London Magic Convention, you told me for Benson Burner you use a thumb tip with a needle. Is there a reason as to why you prefer this over the needle in the bowl like Tom does? Yeah, it just worked better for me, to be perfectly honest. And that's the most important thing, changing things around to fit your style. I originally learned the needle and the thumb tip method from Pat Page for something completely different, and it just worked better for me in this sort of situation. So yeah, there you go. No reason other than it works better for me than what Tom suggested. Okay, and the final question today, we're back with Archie Cox Magic, who says, sorry, another question. I feel like I might be getting ahead of myself with Magic. I have a drawer filled with tricks, and I can only do a very small amount of them. And I have loads of books and can't do many of the tricks from them yet. I also barely can do any sleight of hand, yet I have all these tricks I want to learn and a show I've written, and I feel like I have to learn certain tricks before I can learn others. I love magic and dream of being a magician, but sometimes I feel like I don't know what to learn and when, and I'm constantly jumping between tricks to learn. Any advice on how to learn and practice so I can improve more? Sorry for the long question. Just try to find your niche, right? Because you're right, you don't want to be a jack of all trades. And you can do that over the years, but it'll take you a while to get there. So, for example, I know that you came to see Ryland and Killian's show. So let me use Ryland as an example and Killian as an example. Ryland loves all types of magic, but when he's learning magic, if he's learning close-up magic, for example, he's learning it specifically just for fun, just because he loves magic. It's a hobby. But when he's putting stuff together for his show, he's got a very specific type of magic that he likes to do. And you've seen his show, or you've seen part of his show when you went to watch him and Killian. You saw the Harry Potter act, you saw the flying linking rings, you saw the way that he presented the cube wall, you saw that sort of stuff. So you know the sort of magic that he likes to do. He likes magic to music. Even when he's talking, he likes music in the background. Ideally, if he doesn't talk, that's even better, like the flying linking rings. And so when he's developing an act, that's the sort of stuff he's learning. So if he's wanting to learn stuff for his act or for his show, he's got a very particular niche he operates in. It's a little bit like Tom Crosby. Tom is the performing nerd. He knows that anything that he buys has to not really come across as a magic trick, but more be the sort of thing that a nerd is trying to show that he has skill in, right? Now you look at Killian, and you saw Killian perform as well. I don't want to give anything away with the show, but you'll see with Killian, a lot of the stuff that he does is projected onto the screen because Killian loves card magic. And that's why you see like the Ace Assembly that opens the second half, and you see that sort of stuff because that's the sort of magic that Killian likes doing. And he's found a way to make it work in a theatre on a big stage. And that's amazing. So what you have to do is you have to think about the type of magic that excites you. What we do, and the problem that we have a lot of the time, is we try to learn everything. We've bought this book, so I feel because I need to get my money's worth, I need to learn every single trick at that book. No. Learn the magic that you feel will fit your performing character, and it will fit within the environment in which you want to perform. Again, back to Ryland. He only wants to perform on stage. So he couldn't care less if it's something that works in a close-up situation or not. That's not what he's looking for. Killian, on the other hand, loves card magic. He loves close-up magic. That's one of the big things that he looks for. So when you look for your show, you're talking about your show, you're talking about the magic that you do. Where do you want to perform? What do you want to do? What type of magic do you want to do? And that comes down to what excites you. What gets you excited about magic? What gets you excited about performing? That's the stuff that you need to focus on. So there you go, guys. That's another video in the bag. That's another Q&A in the bag. Thank you once again for joining me right here on Magic TV. By the time you see this, I'm going to be knee-deep back into the tour. So if you are at any of the venues that Killian and Ryland are performing at, please come along and say hi. Outside of that, thank you for supporting the channel again. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget, later on today, we've got a review show special going up. We've got a Magic Live going up. Yesterday, we had a Talk Magic going up. There's a lot of stuff happening here on Magic TV. So make sure that you do everything and you check out all the videos. And don't forget, if you want to join the Netrix and become part of my inner circle, please do so by going to www.thenetrix.com. Go check it out and see what all the fuss is about. And for all you subscribers that are raving about the Netrix, thank you so much. Outside of that, I'll see you again soon. Thank you for watching. My name's Craig, and this is Magic TV.